Good evening. Welcome to Kingdom Lum Small Town Underground. I hope everybody's doing wonderful this Saturday evening as we're coming to you with a special live stream this evening, which I'm going to introduce my guest in just a moment. And we got a lot of information to unpack tonight. And I think it's going to be a fun time. So this is, like I said, the special treat. So before we get started, I want to remind everybody about the Christian Patriot Nation and Cliff's Edge. They're presenting a Take Our Nation Back Classic Car and Bike Show. It's going to be this next Saturday, August the 3rd, at High Point, Georgia Community Improvement Club, right in Chickamauga, Georgia, off Highway 193. It's going to be a car show, a bike show. You're going to get to see me play drums with our new Christian Patriot Nation band that we have been working very hard to bring an awesome show out to. We're going to have speakers including Carol Gibson Girl Howard, which you can follow her on Rumble, Carol Howard. Look for her. She's got a podcast. And they're saying I'm going to speak. I don't know if I'm going to speak or not. So, I don't like speaking like that. But, we're going to see Jerry Paris, and there'll be more. Derek Grayson is going to be there speaking with us. He's a Cliff's Edge speaker, so that we're getting that lifted off the ground. A website coming, a lot of cool things. There's going to be an invocation by Mr. Jeff Daniels. And so everybody come out, man. It's going to start like 1:30, I think. And Saturday, August the 3rd, you can hit me up for more info. You can go to Christian Patriot Nation on Facebook, and all the information is there. So we hope to see you guys there. So, well, my special guest tonight, as you can see, David from Floyd County is with me. David, right. Thank you. And this is Mark Swanson. So, Mark, it's good to have you on the show tonight. I've heard a lot about you. I heard a lot about your story, but I'm really, really anxious to really do a deep dive in this tonight. So
don't believe everything you hear.
Right. Well, so before we start, and I'll finish setting everything up, I want you to tell the audience who you are, give us a little bit of your background, okay, and kind of lead us into what we're going to be talking about.
Yeah, so my name is Mark Swanson. I grew up in Oklahoma, moved to Georgia way back in 1984 to go to school at Berry on a Chick-fil-A scholarship. Was the first graduating class of the Wind Shape program. For those of y'all that are familiar with Berry College and in the Wind Shape program, there I met my beautiful wife Susan. Hey babe, hope you're watching. And we have one son, Jarrett, who's 24, and he's big shot now, working in Atlanta, and real proud of that boy.
Good.
I've always been politically interested, but I've never been politically active. I'm a lifelong Republican voter, and I've always voted that way with only very few exceptions, and I can describe each one of those exceptions. But when the 2020 election happened, watching the coverage that night, like probably so many of you, I was watching Fox News, which I don't watch Fox anymore, but I was watching it that night, and a couple things really just kind of struck me as odd. And one of the first things that struck me as odd was the fact that when Arizona finally came into having their elections offices closed, that Fox News went ahead and announced that Biden won Arizona. And at the time, there was only just a few percentage of the precincts reporting, and even those few had Donald Trump way ahead. And I just thought, that's just really weird. In fact, Fox News ended up being the only one to call Arizona that night, and they called it right out of the chute. And any of y'all that might have been watching that coverage, you might remember that Brett Baer had to bring out the election crew from way in the back to come up and explain themselves why they did that. So there were a lot of people really unhappy with Fox with that quick election call in Arizona. Now it turns out after 3 or 4 days they finally figured out that Biden won. But a lot of people were unhappy. But the other thing that really just caught me off guard was that they stopped counting ballots in big cities everywhere. In Atlanta, Minneapolis, Philadelphia. I was hearing that they're in all these major cities, It was all they all just said, "Oh, it's
kind of at the same time, right?
It's 11 o'clock. We need to go home and go to bed." And you know, I knew that just was not only odd, but I later found out that that's illegal.
Well, I'm sure you remember Atlanta, right? There was a huge pipe, a water pipe that burst.
Yep.
And they had to shut everything down, but it just coincidentally happened the same time all the rest of the city shut down, and they're putting cardboard up on the windows. And we went to sleep scratching our heads, and boy, did what we found out.
Yeah, it was. So that I guess it was those couple of things that really got me interested. And of course, start reading Facebook and reading the internet stories, and there's a lot of conspiracy theories pop up, but it was really a couple of events. And as we get into my presentation tonight, I'll share exactly what kind of drug me in down the rabbit hole in this whole election thing. And I have been working on it since December of 2020, and I'm still doing investigative work. Wow. But I've already uncovered quite a bit.
Wow. So about 4 years you've been involved in this.
That's right.
That's wild, man. I mean, it's crazy to think about, and I don't know what your presentation is, but all the information that we've been able to uncover from the last 4 years, and that doesn't even include 2022. We haven't even made it to 2022.
Well, see, I've done investigation into 2022 as well.
But isn't it just startling to you that still we're just kicking this can down the road, and that we're not? I mean,
that
obviously
has been the strategy. That has been the strategy
just
to try to keep all these people quiet long enough that eventually they'll just go away.
Gotcha.
Or the next election will come and it'll be too late. It's just been this systemic level from the top of the state all the way down through the state election board, all the way down into my local election offices, down to my county commissioners.
Mm-hmm. Right.
It's just been this tangled web of unbelievable stuff that almost seems movie-like.
Yeah.
Sometimes I think to myself, is this real, or am I living in is this the Truman Show? And any minute somebody's going to come in and say, "Hey, Mark, none of this is real."
I feel that. I feel it in the air.
Isn't it crazy?
I feel like that we're just watching a script play out, and you don't even know what the next scene is going to be. It's been wild. What is the old saying? We've had more history happen in a month than in 10 years in a decade. I can't remember that. I need to memorize it.
It's really true, and I think they just really, and we're going to talk about who they is. We all like to talk about they, but I think it's important to call out names when we talk about they.
Sure.
And what I have found, Roy, in my endeavors, again, I'm a lifelong Republican. I even joined the local GOP party in Rome. Okay. I was even on the board for a couple of months because I thought that's where my skills could be best used to deal with election integrity right there in my own county that I started finding. But I only lasted a few months. I resigned. And I rescinded my membership off the Floyd County GOP.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Because of a particular meeting, and if we have time, we'll talk about that. But there was a meeting with the board where I realized I was in the wrong place. This group, not only were they not interested in anything election integrity, they were definitely not interested in doing anything or supporting any election integrity efforts. Wow. And I just thought, if my own Republican Party's not going to do that, I'm not going to give them my money, and I'm certainly not going to be on their leadership board. Right. And so I quit that board and stayed focused on the investigation that started in December 2020.
Right. Okay. Well, are we ready to get in the presentation?
It's up to you.
All right.
It's your
Before
show.
we start, I was finishing updating Facebook, and they sent me a message that said I was restricted for 1 hour. So God only knows what I have done in the last 5 minutes. But we are still live on Facebook, and as well as YouTube and Rumble. So if something happens and the feed cuts out or anything, Rumble is not going to mess with me. God only knows what YouTube is going to do. But guess what? We're going to keep this show rolling. So it is live streaming all three places. This is the only thing that's Kingdom Lump Small Town. The rest of it is Small Town Underground. And it's too complicated to explain why. So we are going to start, like I said, feed cuts out, head over to Rumble, Small Town Underground. So let's pull this up here, and we're going to start. This is the first time that we're doing this. Oh, Okay, there we go. Let me find it. Just bear with me, guys.
I did see it there for a second.
Yeah, it was there. Where did it go? There we go.
There it is.
Now, here we go. So let me get window. Is that 2 or 1? There we go. All right.
Yeah, now that we're looking at inside there.
That's the wrong one. Okay, here we go. Wait a minute. Why
there
is
it
that?
is, but yeah, it's.
Hang on just a second.
Bear with us, folks.
Yep, I don't know what happened here.
We're charting new territory.
Certainly. Let me pull this down then and see. Here it goes.
That might be a little better.
I hope so anyway. It might just be the first slide. We do have a problem with a couple of the slides, but we're going to get through this. So let me get this back down.
Just bear with us, folks.
Bam. Okay.
There we go.
So here we're going to start really quick. I'm going to pull this up to about here, and then you let me know when we need to pull. We need to start making it bigger. So here we go, folks.
All right. So we've already done the intro.
Okay.
We're going to skip slide 2.
All right.
And I want to go to slide 3. So one of the things that I've discovered is there's some myths that are going around. And I really liked the show MythBusters years ago, if you remember that show.
Yes.
My son really liked it, so he and I watched a lot of them where they take a myth or they take some sort of, something that people think is true, and they try to determine whether or not it's true or not, and then they do either it's confirmed or it's busted. And so the first myth that I want to talk about is our elections are performed by the law, and that myth has been completely busted.
All right, here we go. I'm sorry.
Yep, that's okay.
I skipped ahead.
That's all right. Myth number 2, our elected representatives will do whatever it takes to make sure our elections are run by the law. That's been busted.
Busted.
Yeah.
Okay. I think we can safely say that.
Yeah. There's no political interest in fixing elections. Now, I mean, think about why. Okay. If you just think about it for a second, we're paying their country club dues.
Yes.
In essence. Now, they like to call it taxes. But they have a country club, and we support the country club.
100%.
And if they're enjoying the fruits of the country club, why would they want anybody to come in and mess it up?
Well, I mean, the illusion of voting, right? When
exactly.
When they have control over it, and they can keep control, especially with
technology. Why would you want to let go of it? You don't want the people making those decisions.
Why would you want the people to actually decide anything, right?
It'd be great to be a politician if you didn't have people to deal with, right?
Right.
All right, so let's go to the third one here, and we'll just cover that real quick. Next one. There you go. So myth number 3, someone will fix the elections.
Yeah.
I think that's what so many people, a lot of my friends, a lot of Republicans, somebody, this politician's going to fix it, Trump's going to fix it, and I've just got news for folks. It's not going to happen.
No. Well, we already know in Georgia it's not because we have a contract.
That's right. Exactly. Exactly. But one of the things I've discovered, and hopefully you'll have me back, is there are some solutions that we just have not considered in quite a long time.
Okay.
Our founding fathers knew that this day was coming. They knew it when they wrote our founding documents. And they had put in some backup plans for we the people.
Okay.
And I'll talk a little bit about that as we get through the presentation. But there are some answers, but unfortunately, they're not going to come from somebody else. They're going to come from we the people. All right.
You're right about that. And we've got some powerful, powerful people fighting in this state.
I think so too. I think we've got a lot of attention. So just a little bit about me. I've been in the financial services industry for a long time. Went to Barry, got an internal audit degree, so that helped me prepare a little bit for this. And I spent 27 years in the banking businesses. I've probably been audited, maybe 1,000 times. So I'm around audits. I was trained in audits. I've read audits. I've been the recipient of being audited many times, so I understand it quite well. Also ran an insurance agency in Rome for a number of years, and then now I'm currently selling bank software to CEOs and CFOs across the country, go to different conventions and speak and share how we use this software at my bank to help save my bank from failure during the Great Recession. That's another great story I would love to tell sometime, because I got some insight how the government handled that too. So that's just a little bit about me.
You deal with a lot of analytical data, correct?
A lot of data.
And you can see these things.
In dealing with the government. I had a very unique seat and perspective during the Great Recession and how the banking crisis was handled. And that's an hour show all of its own.
At least. We should cover that one of these days. Yeah, absolutely.
So we can just go on to the next one here. And so a little bit of street cred. I'm sorry if the boxes don't quite fit.
Yeah.
But I've gone to the state election board, and they denied me the ability to speak to 2 cases that I had submitted to them with these election complaints, and they dismissed them without any violation. And man, there is a rich story just in that. That's an hour show.
Right, I got you.
Just with the state election board. But I had spoken to the state election board previously. In fact, every complainant up until about the time that I got to speak, or thought I was going to speak to these 2 cases, the complainants always had a chance to say, hey, this is what I discovered. I walked into this room and I saw so-and-so doing this. You want to hear both sides of the story, right? If you're the state election board. Well, they made a decision on or about the time that my 2 cases were coming up that they no longer wanted to hear from the complainants.
They just made
not a word.
Okay.
Now, you could speak 2 minutes at the end of the meeting, but you couldn't talk about your 2 cases.
I see. Wow.
So, yeah.
It doesn't sound very constitutional to me.
No, and a retired federal judge was the chair of that committee, and I have it all in writing that they denied any ability for me to speak.
Wow.
Again,
this is wild, man.
The state election board thing, that's a whole show in and of itself.
Gotcha.
I was arrested for talking for more than 3 minutes at the Floyd County Commission meeting. And Roy,
You were arrested.
I was arrested.
Jeez, is there video of this?
Yes, there is video.
My Lord.
You can go to the Floyd County government website, and you can go to agendas and minutes, and from there you can drill down. And my arrest happened on January the 10th, 2023. So folks can go. There's a video of that whole event. You don't have to watch the whole meeting because mine happens first, right out of the chute.
So break this down a little bit. You're speaking, 3-minute mark happens, and then what's next?
Well, there's way more to it than that. Okay, so this actually started out weeks before the meeting.
Okay,
because I had been dealing with the county attorney for 3.5 years, and what I come to realize, the county attorney was not handling open records within the open records law. There's actually a law in Georgia called the Open Records Act.
Yes.
And it provides that virtually everything that the government has, we can see with very few and very specific exceptions.
Okay.
And the county attorney was just ignoring basically all of that.
So you're turning Open Records Acts and you're not getting anything back.
Or I'm getting limited information. I'm getting information that's redacted that shouldn't be redacted. So I had that issue for 2.5 years, and as I got close to January 10th, I converged on a fact, and it's going to get really complicated if I go there. So I'm going to skip that for a minute. But I converged on a fact, and by email, I communicated this fact, and I believe that this fact is what triggered maybe a little bit of panic on their side.
Okay.
And so a couple of weeks before the meeting, I wanted to start talking about the county attorney not following the law.
Okay.
And as we got closer to the 10th, I saw that on the agenda for the night of the 10th, that the commission was going to vote to extend their contract because they're not an employee, they're a contractor. They were going to extend their contract the night I got arrested, January the 10th. They were going to extend it for another year.
Okay.
So starting a week before the meeting, I said I would like to have 15 minutes because 3 minutes is not enough. And here's exactly what I want to talk about. I want to talk about the county attorney not performing by the law. And I'm not going to put her on trial that night. What I'm proposing is that the commission would delay that decision for 30 days. And in between, we would have a public hearing where I and others could bring all their information and evidence about how the county attorney's not following compliance. So
you were getting on the agenda.
I wanted to get on the agenda.
Okay.
And that's perfectly within their right.
Yes.
It is perfectly within my right to be on the agenda. And if we read our Constitution, we'll see that we have a lot more rights that
Amen.
That we're not allowed to use. So up to 2 weeks before this meeting where I got arrested, they knew I wanted 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Went to the caucus meeting, which is the meeting before. It's an informal meeting where they talk about the agenda, and they had indicated to me by email that they were going to discuss allowing me 15 minutes.
Okay. So they didn't shoot you down.
Not yet.
At that point.
Okay. So I go to the caucus meeting, the meeting before the meeting, and we're sitting in a pretty small room. I'm as close to everybody in there as you and I are. Mm-hmm. And everybody in there knows me, but nobody recognized my name. Nobody said, we have Mark Swanson here as a guest tonight. He's asked for 15 minutes. In fact, they met an hour and 45 minutes and never once mentioned my request or my name. Not one time. An hour and 45 minutes. So I'm starting to sense where this is going to go.
You're getting railroaded.
I'm getting railroaded. And the question is why?
Mm-hmm.
Is it because they don't have 15 minutes to spare in that meeting?
Exactly. So
that
they're
meeting,
literally ignoring you in the meeting that you're there in, and they know that you're there.
That's right. And they know why I'm there.
Of course.
That's the important thing. They know that I'm there to bring accusation against the county attorney for not following the law. Now, if you're just a normal person trying to do your best as a county commissioner and a citizen wants to have 15 minutes to talk about the county attorney not following the law, what would you do? I'd want to know, hey, come to caucus, give us all this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to have a county attorney that's not following the law.
Sure.
But what did they do? So we get to the meeting, and right out of the chute, and you can watch this on the video, right out of the chute, they come out and say that a citizen, they don't mention my name, but a citizen has requested 15 minutes to speak. We took a vote, and we're not going to let that person have 15 minutes. So the first person up is Mark Swanson. You have 3 minutes.
Wow. So they railroaded you at the last minute. Didn't they took? I'm seeing where this is going now. This is wild.
I had prepared remarks.
Yes.
And they knew exactly what I was going to talk about, and that's exactly why I was there to talk about. But since they shut it down, the first thing I did was say, okay, so if I go over 3 minutes, what are you going to do to me?
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to know, how far they were going to go to stop me from being able to speak, my constitutional right to speak.
Yes.
And they said, we're going to stop you at 3 minutes. And what if I don't stop? Well, then we're going to ask you to take a seat. And what if I don't stop and I don't take a seat? I wanted them to come out and say what they were going to do, because I had more than 3 minutes to speak. Mm. I had asked for it a number of times, way in advance.
You complied to their rules.
That's exactly
right.
They
completely ignored you.
Exactly. And again, it's not like this was going to be a 3-hour meeting to start with.
Right.
In fact, even with this fiasco of the arrest, the meeting finished in less than an hour. So if they'd just given me 15 minutes, we would have been out under an hour, and everybody would have been happy, except the commissioners and the attorney.
Sure.
So think about that.
That's pretty wild. I mean, it is. It's mind-blowing.
But it gets worse.
Okay.
So I finally said, are you going to arrest me? Because they wouldn't come out and say it. And they said, yes, if you won't sit down, we'll have you arrested. So I know a bunch of the police officers, including the police chief. I've known the police chief for a long time and one of the officers there for a long time. So I turned and looked at one of the officers and said, are you going to arrest me for exercising my constitutional rights? And he said, you bet I will. And that's when I knew I was in trouble.
Wow.
Then I turned and looked at the other officer and said, "Are you going to arrest me while I'm exercising my conscience?" "Yes, I will." And then I turned to the police chief, Mark Wallace, who I've known for a long time, known his family for a long time. By the way, the police chief's sister-in-law is a county commissioner.
Okay.
Kind of handy.
Yeah, a little bit of nepotism there.
A little bit there. So, and he said, "Yeah, I'm going to arrest you."
Wow.
So I pulled out the Constitution, started reading sections of the Georgia Constitution, which actually has a lot more free speech rights than the U.S. Constitution.
Right, I hear that.
And the whole time, one of the commissioners, Scotty Hancock, who ran as a Republican, who attends all the Republican Party meetings, he's laughing while I'm reading the Georgia Constitution.
He's laughing.
He's laughing. If you watch the video, you'll hear me call his name, Scotty, a number of times. And every time I call his name, it's because he's over there laughing and shaking his head.
Wow.
Like the Constitution doesn't mean anything. That's why I was taking the way he was laughing and shaking his head is, you can read the Constitution all you want, Mark. You don't have any rights in here. We control the rights. We're the commissioners. So I finally get to where I realize I'm just going to have to read what I came to read and let whatever happens, happens.
Gotcha.
And you can watch this on the video. As soon as I started reading my prepared remarks, that's when Allison Waters, who's chair of the Floyd County Commission, turns to Scotty Hancock, who's been just boring holes through her, trying to get her attention because he was the one that was going to give the police the signal. And you can see all this play out on the video. And she finally turns to Scotty. Scotty turns to Mark Wallace, gives a big, enthusiastic, he almost jumped out of his seat. He was so excited to have me arrested. And that's when the police, 3 policemen, came to the podium and physically carried me out of the room. Oh my God. They carried me into the hallway, pushed me up against the wall, and immediately handcuffed me, took all of my stuff out of my pockets. And I had a couple of friends come out and say, "Okay, I think he's got the message. You're not going to take him to jail, are you?" And they said, "Yeah, he's going to jail."
Wow.
So they threw him in the back of a car, take me to jail.
They went through the whole
I went
fiasco.
And sat in a general population cell. Fortunately, it was a Tuesday night. It was a slow night at the jail, and I was the only one. But there could have been 30 people in there.
Sure.
Which I wouldn't have been surprised if there was. In fact, for the 3 hours I sat there, I was worried that they were going to bring somebody in there to send me a message. But I had no idea what law I had violated.
Yeah.
To be thrown in jail.
Right.
For talking? People get in trouble in class when they talk, but right. I don't know they're not throwing kids in jail for talking in class.
This is insane. And I have seen the video. It's been a long time, but I've seen the video. I'm pretty sure we saw it floating around.
I just posted the video on at Greasy Boots on my Twitter, and it's on my Rumble too. It's a Rumble link, so the video is on there. Yeah.
Yes, you need to follow Greasy Boots on Twitter X, and we'll share his link too on all social media. So,
but it gets even crazier. So I finally, a friend of mine had to come put up his house. Because they had a $1,300 bond, and it was 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night, and where am I going to go get that kind of cash? Can't get it out of ATM. They wouldn't accept my own credit cards. They wouldn't accept my own property. They wouldn't release me on my own recognizance.
That is surprising to me. That I'm a bail bond, and I can't believe they did not OR you for that. That they went so far as actually, what was the actual charge that they charged you with? I got to know.
OCGA 16-11-34, 16-11-34, which is knowingly disrupting a lawful meeting.
Oh my God.
But it gets worse. Or better, depending on how you want to look at it. So when I finally got bailed out, I texted my boss, was the first thing to say, "I've been arrested, it's not a joke." She said, "Oh, this is a joke." No, it's not a joke. But when I got home, Roy, I just Googled that law because I didn't even know that was my charge until I got the bail receipt. It was written on the bail receipt. Nobody Mark Wallace, none of the police,
Right.
nobody told me.
You did a property bond, so you didn't go through a bail bonds, right? You did a
That's
property
right.
bond, so they put up their property, and then you probably didn't see the receipt until you're coming out.
Until they literally let me out the jail.
Well, they
I
probably
get my
had
shoes
to
back.
thumb through a book for like 15 minutes, or have the county attorney already had the charge and said, charge him with this. Am I right?
Stay with me.
All right.
This is
All right.
crazy
This
stuff.
This is wild,
Okay.
man.
I didn't bring all the evidence with me because I wasn't prepared to talk about this. But
Gotcha.
now that we're here, so I get home and I Google that law, and I don't know if the viewers are familiar with the law, but OCGA stands for Official Code of Georgia Annotated.
Annotate, yes.
So it's the legislatures pass a law, then attorneys turn that into Georgia Code, which becomes the law. But then as that law is engaged in the court system, it gets kind of shaped and morphed through case law interpretation.
Okay.
Well, so I read down very quickly underneath that law, because when I read the law, I thought, crap, I'm in trouble. But then I read down the annotations. It says right there, big, bold, beautiful letters, ruled unconstitutional.
Well, you're telling me a law in the books has an annotated message that's saying it's ruled unconstitutional?
It was ruled unconstitutional by the Georgia Supreme Court in 2006.
Well, how is it still on the books? How can
It
it
is
be
still
charged?
on the books to this day. Now, if you read, as I did, you read, it's just a little short annotation.
Sure. I've seen it.
And
I've
it-
seen the law like that, yeah.
And it referenced this law as an absurdity.
It
It was cut out of the Supreme Court's decision that called this law an absurdity. Now, when you read the Supreme Court decision, what it says is the Supreme Court said this is an absurdity that our legislatures did not intend.
Okay.
Okay? And we're ruling the law not only unconstitutional, we're ruling it void and nugatory, which is legal terms for meaning this law, no matter where it's printed, it no longer exists.
Now,
And that was 2006.
so this is mind blowing, but so that's the Supreme Court of Georgia, or
Supreme Court of Georgia.
So it's not federal.
It's
Now
not.
the whole time I'm thinking, okay, well, if this is Supreme Court ruling, well, the Georgia can just say, hey, it's states' rights. But you're saying the Supreme Court of Georgia
Ruled this law
absurd.
in 2006.
Wow, man.
So my question right out of the chute was, whose idea was it to use an unconstitutional law for my arrest?
Yeah, I think the dots are connecting pretty well. So yeah.
Well, and I started replaying the events of the evening.
This is not some officer that's just going to pull this code out.
Well, yeah, we use this all the time. We arrest 20 people a day for violating this law about, knowingly disrupting a lawful meeting.
I gotcha.
We send lots of people to the pokey for that.
Uh-huh.
So I started replaying some of the events of the day, and when I got home and saw all this, I thought, I need some evidence. So immediately what I did is I asked for open records of all the videotapes, because there's video feeds all over that building and the hallways and outside and everything. So I asked for all the video. I asked for emails.
Okay.
To and from the commissioners for weeks before and weeks after my arrest. Thinking I'm not going to get anything.
Okay.
But I'm going to ask for it.
Sure.
Well, the videos showed that Floyd County Police Chief Mark Wallace was on the phone, on his cell phone, for 11 minutes while the county commission and the county attorney were in a closed-door executive session meeting. So the whole time he was on the phone, they were in this closed-door meeting. And when you watch him on video, he never says a word.
Okay.
Doesn't even answer hello. He answers it and sits down and listens for 11 minutes and then hangs up and sends some text messages. And you can see on the video, about the time he finishes the text messages, the other policemen pull out their phones.
Wow. I mean, this is crazy, man.
It gets worse. You remember the
Is
emails?
everybody paying attention here? And I've got 2 people here from Floyd County that's been arrested for using their constitutional rights.
Yeah, we don't. Floyd County does not like citizens to have their constitutional rights.
Oh my goodness!
So their job is to
Y'all
protect
get
our
my blood.
rights.
This is getting my blood pressure boiling a little bit. Wow.
So you remember the emails?
Yes. Okay.
So they said there was about 700 emails for the time period I was looking for with all the county commissioners. And I had to pay a lot of money to get it. And when I got it, most of it were junk. But I had 6 emails that were marked attorney-client privilege. I kid you not. I can't make this up.
Wait a minute. I thought the Trump case just proved we don't have attorney-client privilege anymore. What's going on here? How did you get attorney-client privileges?
You remember the Open Records Act, there's certain things that you can exempt, right?
Yes.
Attorney-client privilege is on the list. They had no reason to give me attorney-client privilege.
Because they can use that whenever they want, right?
That's right. To cover up whatever they want.
Yep.
In this case,
wow.
Let me tell you what I found.
Okay.
So the first one that caught my attention was, again, there was about 6 of these, all attorney-client privileged. The first one I opened up, it was a picture of a Facebook post response list.
Okay.
The title of the email, which was circulated amongst all the commissioners and the county attorney and the county clerk, the heading said, attorney-client privilege, Facebook threat.
Facebook threat. Oh my gosh.
Because somebody had responded to one of my election integrity posts. It was a family friend. It was all in jest, but he said, if you'll find the tree, I'll bring the rope.
Oh, God. Yeah.
So I could see that the pretext here they were trying to come up with is I'm a dangerous person, and they had to lock me up because they were afraid for their lives.
Wow.
Okay, but that's not the good one. But just to be sure, before I tell you the good ones, I sent that one back to the county attorney, who is the de facto open records officer for Floyd County.
Okay.
Every open records request goes in and out of the county attorney's office. So the county attorney had given me attorney-client privileged emails, which is actually could cost her job.
I see.
With the State Bar Association. That is a huge no-no.
Right. Okay.
She just let the secret stuff out
on
her client.
Yeah, she probably wasn't even paying attention. This has never been done before type stuff, right?
All I had was this little Facebook picture. And so I texted her back and said, hey, I want to get all the emails surrounding this picture about Facebook threat. I wanted to know, because at this point, I hadn't even been on Facebook for 2 years. I was off for 2 years.
Gotcha.
So somebody had to find this picture 2 years ago and hold on to it, and all of a sudden introduce it to all of these players.
Wow.
But I didn't have the emails. All I had was this little sliver from my Facebook post, which was obviously 2 years old at that point. So I wanted all the emails, and she wrote back and said, "Oh, you can't have them." Okay, why can't I have these emails? And I'm putting some words in her mouth, but basically it was, well, you stupid, they're attorney-client privileged. You can't have them. Well, how is this one different from all the other ones? This one is marked attorney-client privilege. You cannot have attorney... okay, but how about the other 6 emails?
Right, that you've got, right?
There was a day's worth of pause. We were having rapid-fire emails, but when I said, what about the other 6 emails...
When the light bulb went off in her head...
It was like, oh, crap.
I need to speak to somebody, please.
Yeah. I don't know how to respond to this.
Yeah.
So the next day she responded and said, hey, one of our staff, she threw somebody on her staff under the bus. That's like a big shot attorney would do, right?
Of course.
You're never going to take the fall.
Of course.
You want to throw down on some other staff person, which tells you a little bit about the character of the county attorney. But she responded and said, our staff sent those to you in error. Please delete those immediately.
Sorry, it was just a little teensy beensy mistake.
So what do you think I did immediately? I went and saved those.
Of course, you're not going to give them back, right?
Because of what I found.
Sure. Okay, so what did you find?
I found crimes.
Absolutely, you did.
So there were several emails, but the most damning one, and again, if I'd have known, I'd have brought a copy of it so people here can see it.
Oh, this is good stuff. We need to get this out.
But the most damning one was from the county attorney to the county manager, the county commissioners, the county clerk, basically everybody in the county leadership. And the attorney was sending them this attorney-client privileged email 4 days prior to my arrest.
4 days prior.
On January the 6th is when the county attorney sends... Now, you remember a while ago I said there was an inflection point.
Yes.
And I sent a truth back. Mm-hmm. It was earlier that morning on January 6th that I sent that truth back that I believe panicked her. And she had to set off a plan that she launched that afternoon.
Wow. It's getting deep.
So the email says, here's the plan. We're going to figure out some way to get him to engage in histrionics, which is basically an impassioned argument, so that he'll go past his 3-minute time limit. We'll be sure to have media there. And here was an interesting little quote. We'll be sure to have some extra but quote-unquote well-chosen security on hand.
This said it in the email?
It's in the email.
Well-chosen security.
Extra but well-chosen. Now, let me tell you who was there that night for well-chosen security.
Okay.
The police chief, the assistant police chief.
Whom you were friends with.
That's
Family
right.
Friend. Yes.
Used to be. The police chief, again, whose sister-in-law was a county commissioner. So I'm starting to think about how did they coordinate all this at the end with the phone call. I'm going to come back to that.
Okay.
But you had the police chief, the assistant police chief, you had the sergeant, you had the major, you had a captain, and you had a private.
What?
For a county commission meeting that
Jeez,
barely any
starting to
public
sound like
ever
the,
attend.
FBI raid on Roger Stone. What the crap are you?
But when you look at the email, it says we'll have some extra but well chosen. To understand, it wasn't just any security.
No,
we wanted our entire Floyd County police leadership.
I don't even know what to say about this. This is crazy.
It gets crazier. It gets crazier.
Okay, come on with it.
So, having seen all that and seen the video of the police chief on this 11-minute call and texting his deputies during this private executive session behind closed doors, I understood there was a plan. And I think what happened was they didn't know if I'd actually show up that night, so they hadn't brought the police in until the executive session.
Okay.
And And so they had to bring the police chief up to speed because they were going to need the police to arrest me.
Wow.
They
wouldn't
do it on their own.
This. They knew you weren't going to back down, right? I bet. If you showed up.
If I showed up.
You weren't going to back down.
And so I showed up at the caucus, so they had this secret executive session where somebody in that room, I believe, called Mark Wallace, the police chief, and said, don't say anything, but here's the plan.
Right. And you don't haven't seen the message. We're speculating this is what you're putting together.
That's right.
Gotcha.
Okay. So I ordered the cell phone records of all the police that were there that night.
Okay. All right. Did you get them?
I got them.
You did get them? Oh my goodness. Come on with it. This is wild.
The 11-minute call, completely redacted.
They redacted the call? It's
actually considered a felony violation for knowingly and willfully hiding information that's available to the public.
Wow.
And I went so far as to tell the county attorney, you need to let all these police know they're committing felony violations because the rest of the police, they redacted everything. Every last letter, number, and that is not allowed in open records law for the state of Georgia.
That is so wild to me. So you're having all this trouble even getting this stuff, and now they're just like, here, you can have it all, and it's redacted.
And it's all redacted. Which goes back
God.
to my original complaint while I was there.
Right.
I was there to complain that the county attorney, because remember, all this goes through the county attorney.
Yeah, this is one
The
big
county
ring.
attorney was the one gathering all those documents, and the county attorney should have recognized, hey, guys, you can't redact all this information. We're going to have to give it to him. But no, the county attorney said, In fact, the county attorney may have been the one that did all the redactions.
Sure. I mean,
I don't
obviously,
know.
they don't care about the law. They don't care about that.
Obviously, they don't care about the law.
They're just going to do whatever until they're just trying to make you go away or something.
Now,
This
here's
is
the
ridiculous.
thing: their own police policy says that they have an obligation to the accused, me,
Right.
that if they have any exculpatory evidence,
Okay.
they have to give it to me.
Yeah, I would think that's.
It's also state
no-brainer.
law.
Yeah, there you go. I mean,
So
Man,
they withheld it.
sure. This.
Willfully, defiantly, I cut and paste a copy of the law and sent it to the county attorney and says they can't do this.
And what's the date on that?
the date on the...
When you're copying and pasting, they've redacted. When was this?
It was all after my arrest as I'm getting this information.
So January 2023?
It's probably... It might have been February or March.
Okay, so in other words, it's over a year. That you're where you're at now, and you're doing this, and it's been over a year.
And the only charge I have against me is a charge that's been ruled by the Georgia Supreme Court is unconstitutional, and the district attorney, Lee Patterson, for Floyd County, has yet to drop those charges.
Whoa.
They are still...
Is it a felony or a misdemeanor?
It's a misdemeanor.
You're telling me you still have a misdemeanor charge on you that's
Almost
not
2
been
years.
dropped? Oh my God.
And I filed a motion for speedy trial in April of last year,
But
and nothing. And I have also filed a request for any unavailable documents that would expunge me, and they've not provided them. 2 years.
I mean, you have more. You've got more rights now. I mean, like, are you? Are you got plans for these people? This
Yeah.
is ridiculous.
I've already
This is ridiculous.
I have two attorneys. I've got a criminal attorney and I've got a civil attorney, and we have put the county on notice that we intend to file suit.
Yeah.
But the problem is the county attorney and the county DA and the commissioners are all working together because they're in a spot. If the DA drops my charge, that opens them up to malicious prosecution.
I'd say so.
And it makes the value of my case go up considerably.
Oh yeah.
So she can't drop the charge.
Right. See, they're in a catch-22 by their own design, trying to cover
But
it up.
they can't take me to court
Right.
because the law is unconstitutional. They'll get laughed out of court by the judge. So they're just not going to do anything and let it sit out there forever. Now, why would a DA, and by the way, I went to Berry College with this DA, Lee Patterson.
Okay.
We were there together. I've known her for a long time. She runs in the Republican circles.
Okay.
I have voted for probably every time she has ran. I have personally voted for her. And yet, why would any normal DA hold an unconstitutional charge over a tax-paying citizen,
Yes.
property owner, who's been involved in the community for 40 years?
Oh my gosh.
Why would the DA hold a misdemeanor charge over my head?
It does not make sense at all. None of this.
And my
makes
attorney
sense.
has talked to her 5 times. And she knows that the law that I was charged with is unconstitutional because they had that conversation. And she still won't drop it. Now you tell me as a bail bondsman, what does that smell like?
Oh, it's some janky stuff, man. I mean, this is crazy.
Now ask yourself why they would go to all this trouble.
Well, I mean,
On some guy hanging out in their town. Why would they go to all this trouble?
I would think
For me.
Well, because I don't think that they've ever seen the digging that you've done and the laws that you've presented to them, and I think they treat people they obviously this is the good old boy club, right? It's the country club politics, and they don't think that people are going to dig in and really understand what they have.
Exactly.
I say this all the time. These people understand it's not business as usual anymore.
It's not.
And they do whatever they want, and they'll throw whatever you want, and the common person does not know anything about the law unless you dig and realize your rights.
They think we're stupid.
They think we're stupid. They do.
We are a resource to be squandered and nothing more to these people.
Amen. And
that's all we are.
That's the design. They want us to be stupid.
They just want us to be stupid and pay our dues for them.
Yep.
That's all they want. So there's a whole lot more I could tell about this.
Now, I don't know. We got a long way to go, but these people have not gotten back to you personally. They've not reached back out to your lawyers. They're just letting this thing hang in limbo.
So,
I mean, have you thought about taking it to a higher court, taking it outside of Floyd County?
So I need to tell you this.
Okay.
I didn't discover this until fairly recently. So when you sue a government, you have to issue the government what's called an AntiAm Notice.
Okay.
That's an official document that Georgia requires. If you're going to sue the state, you have to give them notice, and you have to give them at least 30 days notice. So they can review your claim, and they can decide to settle it, or they can say, nope, go ahead and sue us. Okay. Now, Floyd County, like the majority of counties, from my understanding across the state, are all self-insured. Okay?
Makes sense.
But apparently they can't adjudicate their own claims.
All right.
They have to go through a third party who will adjudicate the claims so that it's fair.
All right.
So for Georgia, that is done through the Association of County Commissioners.
How convenient.
Oh, you're going to love this.
This gets better and better, man.
You're going to love this. So at the time we submitted the AntiAm Notice, and they sent us basically a go pound saying, yeah, we probably shouldn't have arrested him for that charge, but we could probably come up with some other charges, although they didn't name those. So they sent me that go pound sand letter, and it was a little while later before I finally started putting things together, and I went on the website for the ACCG, the Association for County Commissioners of Georgia.
All right.
Went on their website, went to the insurance division of the website, went to the liability section of the insurance for the website, and I found that they have their own board. And guess who's on the board? The chair of the Floyd County Commission. I cannot make this up.
Oh man, this is heavy. I mean, wow. Look how constricted every bit of this is, and all you're doing is just going through and reading the official law. You're just looking through their policies.
Is, why? What is it about me that they have made all of this effort and risked their careers, risked their retirements, risked jail?
Right. Well, they obviously...
Why are they risking all this for just some little podunk guy living in a small town? Why do
they
all that?
underestimated you, as far as I'm concerned.
Oh, I hope so.
I mean, they just
but
thought
why would they do that? What is it that I know?
That's getting back to the original. So what is originally going on here? What are they trying to protect?
So I don't know what kind of where are we?
I mean, dude, I'm telling you. I mean, I'm getting cold chills when you're telling the story. I mean, as long I don't have a whole lot to do.
Well, you cut me off.
So
this presentation will walk you through exactly what I discovered. Now, it took me a while to get here. Okay?
Yeah, I'm gonna pull this back up a little bit. Let's see where we're at here. So we're let's see, we're right at 56 minutes. So we're doing good. So and.
Okay, let's kind of go through, skip some slides here.
Okay.
Go to that black picture right there.
This one right here. All right.
So Thomas Paine was one of our original founding fathers, and he said, the right of voting for representatives is the primary right by which other rights are protected. Mm. If we can't vote the bums out because the elections are a sham, if they're corrupt, then we the people no longer have control of our country.
Oh, that's very true.
So
very true.
It really doesn't matter anything else if we can't get the elections fixed. Because if they continue to control who gets office, then
You ought to know better, though. We've got to stop talking about 2020 because we're making voters turn away from the polls. You're bringing up all this stuff, and it's the biggest load of crap I've ever heard.
Well,
what you just said, I'd like to reiterate. If we don't fix the elections, we don't
over.
have it's over.
It's over.
Why can't people understand this?
They're too busy doing other things. Okay?
God mercy.
But I believe that God is not looking for a majority.
Sure.
I believe he's not even looking for a big group of people.
Yeah. Well,
when I look at all throughout biblical history, God uses the minority. He uses the small, minutest. 12 men changed the world, changed history forever.
Right.
One man changed history for all mankind forever. Yes. David and Goliath.
There you go. Bring it.
You look at Abraham. You look at Moses. You look at Noah. God's never interested in using a bunch of people or the majority or anything. Right. He's just looking for a few people that will follow him,
right?
No matter what.
And let me ask you, when you went into this whole thing, did you have any idea, or did you pre-plan any of this stuff, or was it reactionary?
It was purely reactionary. You're going to see a little bit how I got involved in here. But see, I've known a lot of these people almost all my life.
Right, but all you had to do with this situation was just read the context of the law. Read what it said. You just had to open up the thing, and it's right there. And
I don't have unique...
They didn't think you were going to do that.
And what was sad is I thought all I had to do was bring it to these people's attention because they're my friends.
Yeah, hey.
I used to bank some of these people, loan them money. I've eaten with them, broke bread together, and I just thought all I got to do is sit down, show them the law, show them what I found, and it'll get fixed.
If this is it, black and white right here, this is it. Oh, sorry, well, let's fix... No, it didn't happen.
No. So I just kept having to escalate and escalate every time they tried to shut me down, and then I started seeing that they were not only shutting me down, but they were trying to hide stuff.
Man.
And that's when I really got mad. So we'll walk through this, and it'll show you kind of what got me going, because you remember the 2020 election coverage. But this is a key question. Key question here. How do you know, Roy, that the ballots in storage are true and correct ballots?
I don't.
They're not signed?
No.
They don't have your name on them?
They got a QR code, right?
Okay.
That's connected to something.
They have top secret coding in it.
They've got technology that I give them my ID. They give me back a card, and then I got to stick the card in the slot, and I got to go through and hit a touch screen. So,
But do the ballots that link, because, there's a paper ballot.
Sure, it prints out the paper.
Do those paper ballots, how do you know those are true and accurate?
I don't.
Sitting in storage at the morgue in Floyd County.
At the morgue. That's a fitting place.
At the morgue, in deplorable conditions, that, I kid you not, Roy, I have 2 police reports that it's been broken into.
Oh, my God.
One, a month after the 2021 runoff. Door was standing wide open. Have no idea who was going in and out. I wish I could make this up.
This is an official police report you have, so we're not talking about hyperbole here. We are saying, oh, my God.
Police reports.
Let me guess, nobody was caught either.
No.
But you guys got put in jail, but nobody was caught.
Oh yeah, it's okay to break in and steal ballots out of storage or replace them with fake ballots, or who knows what else goes on out there at the morgue. The morgue in Floyd County is in the middle of nowhere. Nobody drives by the morgue ever. They can do whatever they want out there. And when I went and took pictures, because all the boxes are right there where you could see. There's probably 30 or 40 Dominion equipment boxes in that room. So just play out the scenario. Is it possible that maybe they have some of their own election equipment hidden up there, and all these boxes of ballots marked the way they want, and they just run them through the machines all night long, and nobody's going to know?
No.
Nobody's going to drive by. Nobody's going to say, "Hey, the morgue's open awful late."
Wow, that's a whole different theory that you don't even think about, So you've got all these people over here doing their job, and then you could have it an entirely different set.
So the question is,
Golly.
how do you know the ballots are true and correct?
You don't.
You do.
You do?
Nobody across the state talks about this.
Okay.
Garland, he mentions this, but he doesn't focus on it.
Okay.
And it should be what we're all focused on, because it's not just a problem in Floyd County. I discovered by looking at 12 other counties that the same pattern of problem is happening in other counties.
Okay.
Okay?
What's the pattern?
Let's go.
Okay, here we go.
So let's skip this. This is
right.
kind of, what happened on election night,
Gotcha.
So
right
go
here?
back to that one.
Here we go.
So a couple of weeks after the election, this little article popped up in front of me, and Roy, I have no idea where it came from. I don't subscribe to the news organization that posted this, but the headline caught my attention. Dominion rep who scanned ballots in Georgia County where thousands of Trump votes were uncounted, also worked for Kamala Harris. Well,
Actually, this is recirculating too, but yes.
So, do you know that in 2020, the person running the recount for Floyd County for the 2020 general election recount was that Dominion Tech?
That Dominion Tech. Okay, I've heard a little bit about this.
Eric Thompson, who happens to also be the photographer for Kamala Harris and Stacey Abrams.
You don't say.
And he was running the 2020 recount. We didn't even have any employees in there with him.
Right. No checks, no balances. He's just in there sent in from the
A
government.
Dominion contractor was running our election. But it also said he was alone adjudicating votes. And I thought, if this story is true, which, do you believe everything you read on the internet? I don't.
Sure. No.
But I had just made friends, quote unquote, with one of the newest board members. And in 2021, she was actually the board chair for the election office in Floyd County.
Okay.
Her name's Dr. Melanie Conrad.
Okay.
She put together different nonprofit groups who would sponsor a precinct on the 2020 election day and provide 3 meals for all the workers.
Okay.
I was president of the Optimist Club when that happened, and I rallied the troops and said this is something that we should grab a hold of, and so we did. We adopted a precinct, and we carried them 3 meals that day. Made sure that they stayed fed because we all knew it was going to be busy. Well, afterwards, a couple weeks after, I found this, and I thought, well, how am I going to authenticate it? I'll just send my new best friend on the election board, Melanie Conrad, an email and say, hey, is this legit? Mm-hmm. 3 or 4 days goes by, I don't hear anything.
Okay.
Send her another email, hey, know you're busy, but if this is true, this is troubling. So just, what's the scoop? 3 or 4 more days go by. So now I'm getting a little mad.
Right. Yeah, they're just kicking the can.
I'm getting a little mad. And the third email I sent, I said, Melanie, if I don't hear from you in 3 days, I'm going to start ordering open records. Mm-hmm. A couple of days after that, she emails me and copies the county attorney.
The county
It's
attorney.
all, I have all of this in writing. Okay? It's not even me against them. I have it all in writing. All of it.
It's got to be unbelievable for you, right?
It is. We just started scratching the surface here. Yes, it is. So her response was, you'll have to ask that at an election board meeting in person, in public. And our next one is not until January the 14th. Now think about where we were.
Yes.
Okay? The 2020 had happened. Mm-hmm. Lots of problems. I see this article.
Right.
We haven't gotten to the January runoff yet.
Okay.
It was like on the 7th or the 10th. And she says, I'll have to ask this in a public meeting, and the next one's not until after the January runoff.
After the runoff's already taken place.
Well, I looked at the email that she finally responded to me on, and I realized she emailed me back the day after the December election board meeting.
So they had a lot of time to sit in a back room and puff some cigars and just discuss what they're
She
going to do.
waited until that December meeting was over that I couldn't come to, and told me I could ask it in the next meeting, which wouldn't matter.
Man.
That's when I knew, Roy. That's when I knew. That's what got me sucked into this. Now let's learn a little bit about the lady who was running, Dr. Melanie Floyd. And I apologize to the audience here.
Oh, we need to blow this up here. All right.
I apologize.
It's okay. We got a really good audience. So
excuse the bird there. And I don't know if you can blow up the right side picture, but you can see that she's flipping a bird towards a Trump mug. I don't know if you can see that. And
this is who?
Dr. Melanie Conrad.
Oh, this was the person that you were talking to.
That I was emailing.
Okay.
That told me I missed my chance and I'm going to miss my chance in the future.
Okay.
And she's a doctor.
A doctor.
So she's not a medical doctor, but she's a doctor.
Doctor like Jill Biden.
Yeah. Yes. The exact same doctor.
That kind of doctor.
Yeah, that kind of doctor. The exact. So smart lady. Okay. And she's running the 2021 runoff. And we're sitting at home one night, and my wife is on her Facebook page and finds these two pictures.
That's not nonpartisan, is it?
On her Facebook page, which is a public Facebook page, it's actually against the law.
Yes, it is.
To be on the election board in the middle of an election season, either for or against a candidate, and you can quite see that she's not happy about the Trump mug. And if you read the one on the other side over here, it says, "This works better than bleach," which was a dig against Donald Trump when everybody said that he said, all you got to do is put bleach.
Oh, my God.
Drink bleach or whatnot. But I like the title underneath that. Make Good Trouble. John Lewis quote. That's all I'm doing is making good trouble, right?
Making good trouble, my Lord.
So she should support me. Isn't this crazy?
This is really crazy.
It's hard to believe. And here in little old Floyd County.
And keep in mind, Facebook and whatever bloody yada, you little fact checkers out there, that this guy's got the receipts.
I got all the receipts.
This is not.
It's all in writing.
Misinformation or bloody yada yada. This is the real deal here, and I've seen some of this information. Not this.
You're going to see receipts tonight.
All right, let's move on.
I got all the receipts.
Okay.
All right, so that began my journey into election integrity. Okay. And you remember, I forget the character's name now, but he was famous.
What you talking about,
Willis?
Willis?
What you talking about, Willis?
Yeah.
You know, that face you make when...
Different strokes.
Gary Coleman.
Yes,
Gary Coleman. Yeah, but I can't remember the name of his character on the show now.
I can't either, man.
But, you know, that's what I felt like. Something fishy. Something is rotten. So step one, what I had to do...
No. Okay.
Oh, you started the PowerPoint.
I don't know how I did that. Okay.
There you go.
There we go.
I don't know where our audience went. Okay.
Step one.
So step one, I needed to understand the election system because I'd never worked in the election system. I had no clue what I was doing when I first started this. I didn't even know what questions to ask. I had some help during the early part until that fell apart. But here's what I finally discovered. So go to the next one there. So you mentioned this a while ago. These are the ballot scanning devices, and your audience, if they vote, they will recognize these two. It's actually one machine. The machine on the left sits on top of what's on the right. So it's a ballot scanning device is what it's called. And it sits on top of a big trash can over there because when you scan your ballot, it drops into that trash can. Right. And then that trash can is emptied and put into storage. So how do we know that fake ballots didn't run through that scanner?
I got to be on the other side for that, right?
You're gonna start to feel a little bit like a Dominion machine fan by the time we finish.
Okay,
that's going to be hard to swallow, hard for your audience to swallow. I am certainly not saying Dominion is. Those machines are fraught with peril, but for tonight's purposes, they can actually be our savior, and I'll show you why.
Okay.
All right. So here's what the law says, if we can get that pulled up.
There we go.
So here's a law here, and I don't have my highlights because we're working in a...
sorry
so
about that.
Just on the fly.
I'm gonna blow it up here.
Yeah, blow it up so everybody can see it. And you can Google this election rule here. I've got it at the top. And if I could highlight it, but let me just tell you what it says, that they're supposed to print 3 copies of ballot receipts.
Okay.
So the little machine up there, and I'll scroll through, but the law says there's supposed to be these tapes. And if you read right in there in the middle, you can see the poll manager and 2 witnesses shall cause each ballot scanner to print 3 tapes of the tabulated results and shall sign each tape indicating that it's a true and correct copy of the tape produced by the ballot scanner. So in other words, you take your piece of paper, everybody puts their paper in the scanner, it falls down there. At the end of the night, the election office is supposed to hit a button and it produces 3 tapes. They look like CVS tapes.
Yes. I've seen a lot of this, so yes.
For the 2020 election, they're 8 feet tall,
Yeah,
8 feet
they're
long, because there were a lot of people running on there. Because the tape has everything.
Mm-hmm. That's your receipt.
That's your vote receipt.
Right.
So when you're talking about how can you know the ballots and storage are legit?
You got the receipt.
If you got the receipt, they're legit.
Okay.
You follow me?
I'm following.
Okay. So let's keep going.
Okay. Oh.
Yep. Go to the next slide. Sorry. So the ballot scanning devices produce vote receipts.
Okay.
And what's a receipt? It's a writing acknowledging receiving goods or money,
Yes.
or the informal is proof or evidence.
Okay. Gotcha.
How does it work? So when you vote, there's actually three areas that you can prove the election by, every election. And this is all in our election rules and laws, okay?
Okay.
You got the ballot scanning device. How the election results get to the Secretary of State's office is that little card on the left there.
A memory card. Okay.
That's ultimately supposed to come out of that scanner. There's all kinds of rules around, who touches it and how it moves down to the main office to be plugged in a machine and transmitted to the Secretary of State's office. But that's how the Secretary of State gets it.
Okay.
He's not getting it from the paper ballots. Those go to the morgue.
And how does he receive them? Do they put them in a lockbox, or do
No,
they just carry them in like a McDonald's paper bag, or what?
So the Secretary of State never gets the ballots.
Never
ever.
gets the ballots.
They go to the morgue in Floyd County.
It's in the memory card, though.
The memory card goes to the main election office in the county. They stick it in a machine. They hit transmit, and it sends that electronically to the Secretary of State, and that's what they call the official vote.
Okay. But I mean, like in transport, is there any kind of security, or
There's supposed to be.
What if you drop one, or
Or what if it's replaced?
what if it's replaced? Right. That
So
doesn't
on the
sound very
right,
secure to me.
so that's one place the votes go. The other place is the paper ballots that you actually, printed and shoved in the ballot scanners. But then you also have these 3 receipts.
There's your 3 receipts. Okay.
Okay, and it's a picture of them. Your audience is probably not going to see those, but those are actual receipts. But
blow it up a little bit,
yeah, they're
maybe.
really tiny.
I'd like to add one little point in there
Yeah,
right quick.
go ahead.
On the paper ballots thing, if you think about it back to when Raffensperger and Kemp in the past, they've all run as, we're going to change over to paper ballots. Everybody's all this fuss. We want paper ballots. All this stuff about paper ballots. Well, they say, we got paper ballots now.
Yep.
But what good are they? It's meaningless. It's just all.
And you're going to
talking
see
point.
how meaningless they are in just a minute. So that's kind of how it works. Let's go on to the next slide. Try to move through this quickly. So, okay. So tabulating results. Let's go to the pictures because it's too hard to look at the words.
Gotcha.
The pictures are going to summarize the words. So here's how those 3 receipts, and if you can kind of see on there, there's a place for people to sign.
Okay.
Those people have to be oathed. They have to sign an oath, a specific oath.
Okay. Yeah.
Who signed those receipts?
Gotcha.
And they're signing, certifying that this is a true and valid tape from a ballot scanner that was turned on when it was supposed to, turned off when it was supposed to, and only operated on the day it was supposed to. And all the vote totals are on that tape. And they signed saying they saw that it was legit.
Okay.
Okay?
And it's showing how it's placed door of the precincts.
Yep. So the first one goes on the door of the precinct. The second one goes in an envelope to the election office, along with the memory card.
Okay.
They're both shoved in an envelope and taken to the election office. We'll talk about where it goes from there.
Okay.
And the third one is supposed to go with the ballots.
Gotcha.
The vote receipt. You see the boxes of ballots. Because ideally what happens is, let's say you want to come back 6 months later and audit the election. Right. Somebody says, hey, something wasn't right. You take out a ballot box. You take the receipt out of the box. You count all the Trump. You count all the Biden. And does it match the receipt?
Right.
It's that easy.
That easy.
Okay. Unless, keep going. And let's skip the words and go to the pictures.
All right.
And so here, here's where we break down the part that goes to the election office. So we take the little receipt that you see on the left, like the little CVS receipt, signed by 3 people, and the memory card. You stuff it in an envelope. Somebody drives it down to the county election office. This is for the day of election. And they unseal it.
Okay.
Okay, next.
They take it out of the McDonald's bag.
That's right. Okay. And then what happens is they take it out, and of course there's a receipt, and there's the card, and your camera's blocking it. So
it says unofficial votes and official votes.
Okay, so the law actually says that the unofficial votes are the tape.
Okay.
Which it shouldn't be.
Okay.
Actually, the rule says it's unofficial. The law says it's actually the official.
That should be the official.
By law, but by rule, it's not. It's the opposite.
Well,
by rule, which is lower than the law, it says the official vote is what's on those memory cards that anybody can replace anywhere along the way.
Sure.
Very easily. These aren't like gigantic.
So in other words, the actual paper receipt that the machine prints out,
that's not important.
That's not the one, man. You got to go with this memory card that's digital.
We're not sure where it came from, but I know it's accurate.
Okay.
And you see, I've got fatally flawed.
And that is a huge flaw.
Now, the law's not written that way.
Okay.
The rules are and the procedures are. And who writes the rules and the procedures?
Well, the Secretary of State.
Correct.
Right?
So why would the Secretary of State write rules and procedures that are counter to the law?
That's a really good question. I'd love to ask him one of that one of these days.
I would too. Let's keep going for the interest of time here. We could digress a lot. So here's how it works. The county election office takes the receipt. You see the election office in the middle there.
Okay.
The receipt to the left.
Yes.
They shove it in a file cabinet, and the law says the reason for that is so that people like me can come and look at them.
Okay. Yeah, because you got great luck with FOIA requests, right? You come look at them.
Yeah. So, but notice that the little card, it goes into a computer and it's transmitted to Brad Raffensperger's office, and then he's the one that says, "Here's the official vote." That's what the media gets.
Okay.
That's what gets settled in law. Okay.
Well, okay.
All right. So let's keep going. So here's a little more close up, and you can see I've tried to black out some of the names because I don't want their signatures floating around. And yeah, you might want to make this full screen so people can see. But you can see everything about the scanner that's in use. It has a number. It has an ID. It says the date and time that it's turned on, because you don't want these turned on 5 days ahead of the election. Right? Because if it's turned on 5 days ahead of the election, you could just stuff a bunch of ballots in it, right? And you don't want it turned off 5 days or a week or 2 weeks after the election, do you?
No, of course not.
And you remember, Floyd County was dead last to report in the 2020 and the 21 runoff.
Yeah.
We made national news on Fox News, called out Floyd County in the 21 runoff because it took us 30 days.
That's right. A whole month, man.
You need a whole month to be able to run these extra ballots.
Gosh.
You got to wait until all the numbers come in to know how many you need.
Man.
So it's all right here, signed by 3. It's all on there. So let's go to the next one.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a good one. So validation and confirmation of votes.
Okay.
All 3 of these things, the memory card, the paper ballots, and the vote receipts, they should all match, right?
They should all match.
Well, here's one problem. The law says that the county can erase the memory cards after 30 days after the election.
What?
Not only can you erase them, but you can reuse them.
What?
30 days. 30 days after election, they're gone.
That's the official. That's the
official count by the rule. And they're saying in 30 days, you can use these to put pictures of your family on it.
That's what we got the paper backups for.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So you've taken this 3 system of perfection that you got 3 checks and balances here.
And you're
the system's not flawed. It's just we've flawed it intentionally.
Right. You've dismissed one of the checks and balances, which
The
is
official
the
one.
official check. Oh my God.
I can't make this up.
God.
It's unbelievable. So, but you at least have the paper ballots and the vote receipts,
Oh my God.
right? You
Yeah,
got-
but then what are you gonna if you go back and audit them?
well, you should
do
be
you-
able to go pull those ballots out of
Right.
storage, pull the
The receipt,
count them out, compare them to the receipt, and if they match,
then it looks good.
then you're good.
But what about the third check and balance? Because you don't
Well,
know.
we still have the results from that
We have the
card
results. Okay.
at the Secretary of State's office. If you were to Google the Secretary of State's
Yes.
office and pull up the 2020 election,
Okay.
they still have the number that came off of those cards.
And that's all still supposed to match.
And
Even-
it should match,
Yeah.
right?
Right, it should.
It should match the paper ballots, and it
And
should match the vote
receipt.
receipts,
Yeah, okay.
right?
Yes, absolutely. it
Okay.
should.
Even though we don't have the memory cards, we have the total.
Okay, gotcha.
All right. So
right.
let's keep going. So what is the legal purpose of the receipts? Now, earlier I was showing you election rules that were conflicting from the law.
Okay.
Okay. This is the law. You see OCGA,
Yes.
that's the official code of Georgia annotated. That is, quote unquote, the law. And I cite the exact law. So the first purpose of these receipts is to settle any discrepancies during canvassing.
Okay.
So as they're getting all these cards and ballots and receipts, the process is supposed to be comparing them all and make sure they all match,
All right.
right?
Yes.
So if there's a discrepancy somewhere along the way, one purpose of this receipt is to settle the discrepancy.
Gotcha.
The receipt.
The receipt. Okay.
The second purpose is when you're doing any recount, and I can't read, oh, there it is, that it settles any discrepancies during recount. So you get all this stuff back out for recount, and wait a minute, this doesn't match, this doesn't match. Well, what does the receipt say? It settles discrepancies during the recount.
Okay.
You with me?
I'm with you.
Let's keep going. Let's skip words, skip words. Okay. No, go back up.
All right, here we go.
So I engaged, when I discovered all of this in the laws, in the rules, I wanted to put my eyeballs on those receipts. Wouldn't you?
Absolutely.
They're critical.
100%.
So the first time I did it, it was between January and March of 22. The county attorney gave me 1 hour time limits for 2 elections.
1 hour time limit.
1 hour time limit to look at these receipts for 2 elections. There were 26 scanners
Oh my God. And by yourself?
by myself. So I agreed because I wanted to start looking at them. I had no idea what they looked like until I got there.
Yeah.
So I
yeah,
didn't
you're
even know.
walking into this thing not even know
Blind.
what you, and they're saying you got an hour.
I got an hour.
Oh my God.
So the county attorney put somebody in the conference room there with me, and they brought out the tapes.
Oh, so you had to have somebody watching.
Oh yeah,
Of course.
of course.
Because that needed to be secure, right?
Absolutely,
You were a threat to
because
election.
I might take all those receipts out of there. That's right.
Oh man.
So get this, I sit down at this conference table. The young lady's sitting across from me, and somebody else brings in. So we've had a lot of people touching the receipts by this
Gotcha.
point. But she comes in and sets down, I kid you not, a Ziploc bag with all of these receipts crammed in there, not folded,
Right.
not rolled. 2 elections, no order whatsoever. It just chaos thrown into a Ziploc bag.
Oh my God.
And I dumped them out, and I had to figure out, what are these? What election did they go for? How many am I supposed to have?
Right.
So obviously an hour didn't do it. I had to come back. So I had to wait 2 or 3 weeks before they could reschedule another hour. And I went back.
Is that legal?
I don't think it
You're
is.
at the mercy of them. Whatever
I don't-
whatever they decree to you.
It's intentional.
God.
It was to wear me down so I would quit.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
this time, I had done a little homework and figured out how many scanners we're supposed to have.
Okay.
And I'd read the law to make sure what's supposed to be on the tape. And I prepared a spreadsheet.
Okay. Okay.
So now when I come in for the second visit,
you've got some
now I
ammo.
can fill in the blanks
Okay.
and make, and I have two different
They
elections.
thought they were running you off. They gave you more time to prepare.
Exactly.
Jesus.
So I did, and I didn't finish it the second time. I had to come back the third time.
Wow.
And the third time I made sure, but let me tell you what happened on the second time. By the time I got to the second time, I was organized. I realized I don't have all the receipts. So I asked the young lady sitting over there, I said, I'm missing these receipts right here. Will you see if you can find them? Sure. She looks through them. She looks through them. She said, no, I don't see them either. So in between the second and third time, the county attorney finds out that I asked the young lady to look for these missing tapes. She blows a gasket. Threatens to never let me see them again. This is all in emails.
Threatening you
Yes.
because you're asking about missing
Yes.
receipts.
Yes. She didn't want this young lady who works for the county attorney to become a witness,
Oh my God.
which she just did.
Yes. And it already happened. She's
It already
already a
happened.
witness.
It's already too late. She's already said they're not in there. So I come back the third time to make sure that I look through everything, double check all my spreadsheet. Now let's look at what I found.
Okay. On this one or the next one?
The next one.
All right, here we go.
Well, wait. So
Okay.
in March of 23, I took a buddy with me. I'd asked to take a team.
Okay.
County attorney wouldn't let me take a team to go
course
look
not.
at these tapes. So I carried a friend of mine.
Okay.
'Cause she'd let two. And this time, the experience was completely different at looking at the tapes. Again, we're talking, about a year apart here?
Yes.
This time, we have a new election supervisor, Aiken Beck.
Okay.
And so when Ken and I get down to the new election office, which is in the health center now, there's a huge room, and Ken and I walk in, and on all the walls, lined all the way around this huge conference room, are the tapes, hung up, by election, completely sorted,
They were ready for you there, huh? They had it all taped up for you.
all taped up. Well, I had prepared Ken. I said, now, you're not going to find a lot of tapes unless all of a sudden we do find tapes. So he says, well, I'm going to look at these kind of tapes, and you can look at these tapes. So I sit down. I'm about 5 minutes. I'm just filling out my spreadsheets, getting everything organized. And he comes over and he says, hey, Mark, those tapes aren't here. So let's take a look at what I found.
Okay. All right, here we go.
So this first one, and you might want to keep it as big as you can,
All right.
as possible.
Let's see here.
Yeah, if you can just get the center there.
Let me try it this way. This is very important. Here we go.
And it's color-coded to make it easy so you don't have to read. I'll describe what you're going to be reading here.
Okay.
But down the left-hand side is the name of each scanner.
Okay.
And it's organized. The top section up there is all advanced voting.
This up here.
All of that is all of early in-person voting, otherwise known as advanced voting. This
Okay.
is not the same as absentee ballots.
Okay.
Because I found out absentee ballots are processed without tapes.
Really?
They're processed completely separate
Is
from
that
the system.
just Floyd County, or is that
It's
it?
the whole state.
The whole state?
I didn't know that until I was...
Absentee ballots get counted separately.
And no tape. They're on a different machine. They're not even scanned in these same machines, okay? But stay with me. I know. It makes no sense.
I keep thinking back to the video after the State Farm Arena closed.
Yep.
And the suit. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
So the top section up there represents the tapes for any and all advanced voting scanners. And if you could see on the left, the name of them all starts with AV, which is advanced voting.
Okay.
And then you have the scanner ID number. Okay?
All right.
So that you can tell if they're using different scanners or if they're using the same scanner, and they use different scanners for all of these.
Okay.
Now, there's right after that, you'll see on the top section up there where we're talking about advanced voting, there's 4 boxes in a row right after the names. So go
Okay.
back right there.
Right here.
Uh-huh. And those 4 boxes, if you'll notice there's a heading above that, those are called zero tapes. So the law also says before you turn the scanner on,
Okay.
you've got to run a zero tape,
Okay.
which means 3 people have to sign it and saying,
Like a zeroed
There's
out.
no- there's no votes.
Nothing in there.
We're
Okay.
gonna start
starting from fresh.
there's no votes on here, okay?
Okay.
So by law, they're supposed to have a zero tape, and it's signed by the same three people saying zero, okay? So the first 4 boxes are zero tapes. And what's the first thing you notice in all those boxes? They're red.
Yes.
And they're red because we don't have them. So when you're looking at these spreadsheets...
Oh, you're talking about up and down.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
So take the very first line.
Yes.
We got the name, the number, and then that's the results from my 2 reviews of the tapes that there are no zero tapes for the advanced voting machines. So the first 4 boxes there are the key things that make it a legal tape, which include the date. Maybe you can read that a little bit better.
See the
trying
date, signed by 3.
Yep.
All tools 0, which is the third block,
right,
which is red.
which means they show 0,
Yes.
and then a picture.
Picture. Yeah.
Okay. So I built this so that I could quickly see whether or not how compliant we were, and I color coordinated it so it makes it pop.
Oh yeah.
Okay. So anything in red is a violation of law.
Really?
Anything in red is a violation of law. Green means it's good. It's fully compliant.
Okay.
Okay. Now, as you go down to the bottom section there, that big bottom section, those are all the day of voting.
Okay.
So those are all the precincts scattered around Floyd County. We got 26 of them, and those are mostly staffed by little old ladies.
Gotcha.
And if you'll notice, they've got a few reds. But compare that to the top box
Yes.
for advanced voting.
Advanced voting.
And ask yourself, who runs the advanced voting equipment? Where is it kept? At the elections office.
Yes.
Manned by people who are paid election workers.
Yeah.
In the full and complete control of the election board. And those people can't figure out where the tapes are or get it right, can they?
No.
Compared to the little old ladies who can't even operate an iPhone,
Okay, so
they can get it right.
So you're with the new election supervisor,
Correct.
right?
Correct.
And he realizes that
It's a
there's she realizes that the tapes are not there, right?
No. So you would think she said personally she and her assistant hung every tape in the room. So she eyeballed every single tape. Part of the problem is we might have a tape, but it's not signed by 3 people.
Right.
She could see that. She could see there's a tape. There's 3 lines that are supposed to have signatures on them, and they don't have signatures. So we don't know if that's a legit tape or not. Now, she saw those. So now, if I were her, knowing what she's about to face, the first thing I would have done is say, Mark and Ken, I hung all these myself. We got problems. I can see a lot of these aren't signed, which is a huge problem. It's
Yes.
against the law.
Yes.
The law requires us 3 signatures. So I already know we've got problems. And I've also done a count and realized we're short of some tapes. Now, I want you to look
Okay.
at the advanced voting section. If you'll go over towards the right, we start looking at the actual final receipts.
All right.
Okay?
Pull it back up here. There we go. So
Yep.
what, this is on this.
So look at that section right there. That says the total votes.
Okay.
Okay? And you see there's vote totals. But you'll notice there's yellow boxes.
Right here.
And there's red boxes.
Yes. So what does this mean?
So those are dates that aren't compliant.
Okay.
And those are signatures that are missing. So legally, those votes should not count.
Right. That should be null and void, right?
It should be null and void.
Receipts, you know.
Now, look at how many. Can you see how many votes that is? If you can't, let me just give you the short version.
Okay. Yeah. Go for it.
The 70% of all votes, that 75%
75%.
of all votes came through advanced voting. and we don't have a single legal tape for that 75%
whoa.
of all the votes.
At 75% of the total votes for Floyd County for the
Came through.
entire election.
For 2020.
For 2020.
This is just 2020. They came through advanced voting, and we don't have a single legal tape for that 75%. We don't have any idea if those are legit or not.
Now, today's July 27, 2024. Has this changed?
No. We're going to keep going. I'm going to show you.
Okay. All right.
Let's go to 2021.
Okay.
Top section is advanced voting.
This is a year after.
No, this is...
It's not...
The general election was November of 2020.
Oh, yes, it's right.
This was
after.
the runoff.
Okay.
If you remember,
yes,
this
yes.
decided the balance of power in the Senate.
Yes.
We had 2 Republicans in there,
That's right.
and the 2 Democrats ended up beating the Republicans and changed the balance of power to Democrat from Republican.
Yes. Yes.
That was this election. Now, again, 61% of all Floyd County votes came through that top section. And what do you see?
I see total non-compliance.
There's no tapes.
There's no tapes.
There's not even the first tape of any kind.
I see red.
Oh, I see NA, right? Does that say NA?
They're all red. There's not a single green in the
there's-
advanced voting section where 61% of the votes came through.
There's nothing.
So, now, I was successful at getting our board, who managed these 2 elections, kicked out by legislative action. I worked directly with our county's legislation at the state level.
Yes.
And they got this board removed and got a new board replaced.
A new board.
A new board.
Everybody.
Everybody on the election board except one person from the old board, they kept on the new board. Which, why would you keep somebody with this level of incompetency on the new board?
I don't know. How is that even possible?
Well, it was a Democratic nomination.
Okay.
Okay? So, you'd think that with all of this, kicking off the old board, the new board has got it in the bag, right?
Yeah, they're
going to be
in,
on top of it. They are
you've
not going to make...
this stuff on a silver platter. Look at this.
They're going to follow all the rules. We've got attorneys on this board. We have experienced people on this board. It's a whole new day. We got Republicans and Democrats on this board. So let's look and see what they did in the next 2 elections, which also have our new elections chief, Aiken Beck.
Okay.
So let's see how this group did.
The one that personally hung everything on the wall.
That's right.
Okay.
Now, surely this group did everything right. So go to the right there, 36.
Here we go. 2022. Now we're jumping to 22.
With a whole new board, whole new elections chief, 53% of our votes came through advanced voting, and we don't have a single legal tape for advanced voting. The same mistakes. And it's not mistakes. Well, by this point, it can only be intentional.
What's the Secretary of State said about this?
That's another.
Okay.
That's another.
Oh, my God.
So there was a runoff, if you remember, with Herschel Walker.
Yes.
For the 22 general. So let's look at the next one and see if maybe by then they had gotten everything fixed.
So
okay?
here's the runoff now. We're
Herschel Walker.
2020, right after 2022, and here's the runoff. My God. Oh, what is this?
No legal
tape.
tapes for the Herschel Walker.
Wow.
Now look at all the little old ladies down there.
Oh, looks like they were very compliant.
They know what they're doing. They may not be able to use an iPhone, but they know how to run elections.
Yeah.
There's a couple of exceptions.
Yeah, Etowah, there was something happened there.
There's some questions there, but by and large, how successful were the little old ladies running our?
Looks like from the top down, they were like, "Hey, get it right, people." But what happens up here?
But the people who are paid and who know better, and we got a whole new board, Republicans and Democrats.
Yes.
We got lawyers, smart people on this board.
New blood.
We've got a new experienced election supervisor, Aiken Beck, who comes with high recommendations of making sure everything's done right. And lo and behold, for 41% of our votes, we have no tapes.
Wow.
So now, if we're going to go back and crack open all the boxes, because remember the memory card's gone.
Memory card is just, yeah.
So we got all these ballots in storage.
Okay.
We're going to crack them open and compare them to what?
The tape and the ballot, the paper ballots, right?
Unless there's no
tape, which means you have zero chain of custody, you have zero checks and balances. You're just going to open up a box.
You have
of
no
ballots.
receipts for the majority of our votes in 4 elections.
Oh my God!
No receipts.
And is that what happened? Did you crack open these boxes, or were you even able to?
No. So the county attorney. That was becoming the convergence point you talk about the 4 days prior to election when all of this turned into a plan, a collusion against me.
So they were sitting in the back room going, we got to do something with this guy.
Because I found out that the truth is the law says there's only one person who's supposed to hold all of that election material. And only one person in each county. The same person in each county. And that is the clerk of Superior Court.
Really?
So when the elections are done, the law says immediately all of the sealed election materials, which are tapes, ballots, cards, all of that, are supposed to go over to the clerk of Superior Court to hold. Unless the clerk of Superior Court designates somebody else. Well, what I had discovered is the clerk of Superior Court in Floyd County did not have possession and had never designated anybody else to hold it. The county attorney insisted that they decided that the county clerk, who works directly for the county commissioners, was going to hold all the election material. Until I pulled all the records, and they don't have the only people who have access to all of this are our election workers. So you got the fox guarding the hen house in the morgue where nobody can go by. They can do whatever they want 24/7, 365.
I don't even know what to say, man. Like, I'm speechless right now. I'm speechless. This is wild.
So that's what I found.
This is wild.
And I took a little longer, but
no.
But you asked me about all my rest stuff. So.
Dude, I mean, this is one heck of a story, man. So, all right. So, 2024 in July. Like, what?
We're not ready. We're not prepared because this happened. This same pattern happened in other counties outside mine. It happened in Fulton County in bigger numbers. Yes. And I guarantee you, if we did the same tape audit all the way across the state in every county, we're going to find this all over the state.
My God.
Because if it only takes a few people in the advanced voting, a few bad actors, to run ballots, fake ballots, through these machines at all hours of the night, and even after the election, to make sure the outcome comes out okay. And all they have to do is dispose of the tape. The tape would rat them out that the machine stayed on too late, stayed open past the election. The tapes would rat them out. That's why they're all gone or not signed, because even the not signed ones, how do we know those are legit tapes?
We don't.
You don't.
We don't.
The law says you have to have those 3 signatures. The law says the tape breaks the ties. The tapes are the official elections.
Let me interject something in here right quick. So it goes back to the 2020 election, and who did we find out that was really running things more so than maybe than Miss Conrad? That there's a kind of important person in the Democrat Party in Georgia.
Yeah, so in the 2020 and 21 runoff, it turns out that we had a sitting city commissioner who was also a superdelegate for the Democrat Party, who actually went to Washington, D.C. to represent Joe Biden's votes from Georgia. She had signed oaths and was an official worker for the Floyd County Election Office. Her name was Wendy Davis.
Oh, yeah, I heard about this lady. Yeah, Wendy.
She was a sitting city commissioner. She was a superdelegate, meaning that she carried the votes to D.C.
Yes.
And she signed oaths as an election worker for those elections. So she had access to all of this, potentially 24/7, 365. Because we really don't know who has access.
Sure.
That's the real problem here. We don't have a clue who's got access, because we know where they stored the 2020 materials. That building at the morgue was broke into twice. It was like Waffle House. You could just come and go as you want.
Right.
You can do whatever you want, take as much time as you need, because nobody goes by the morgue. Isn't this crazy?
I mean,
like an interesting connection there. I think when you look at the, it's like, how does all this happen in little Floyd County? And when you get these connections, it's like, well, how did we wind up with Kamala Harris's photographer and this kind of stuff? What connections are there? And what all I see going back is you got Wendy Davis that's in there with Stacey Abrams. You know, this whole DNC circle and stuff.
But I want to be real clear here, guys. This is not a Democrat and Republican thing.
Yeah.
100%.
Your audience may all be Republicans. I was a lifelong Republican. I'm not anymore. Right. Because what I have discovered in this is I'm more worried about the Republicans than I am the Democrats.
All right. And we've got about 13 minutes before we start to wrap it up. And I haven't even looked at the comments yet. I hope everybody out there is really watching this and sharing it, because what he's fixing to get into needs to be listened to. And I agree with you 100%, because where have you had, what kind of backup have you had from your own Republican Party, from your own people?
Zero.
Zero.
In fact, it's actually a negative number of some sort, because they've all actively worked behind the scenes to keep my information hidden from the public. They have even kept things out of the official minutes that they voted to accept into the minutes that would be damning to them. I had to force them, showing them the law, to say you cannot leave out this information that the commission voted to accept.
Wow.
Now there is so much more. As crazy as this is the tip of the iceberg.
Oh my God!
What you've heard tonight in the 2 hours.
I feel like my head is kind of spinning around. Like, I can't believe it's this blatant. I've sat through Seth Keshel. I've sat through Dr. Frank, the algorithms and showing all the data, right? But you're talking about a physical going in, and we don't even have the freaking receipts. We don't even have the signatures here, and nobody is doing anything about this. This is one county.
You can't take a bottle of ketchup back to Walmart and get your money back.
No.
Without what?
A receipt.
A receipt.
Oh, man.
If your audience isn't fired up, I don't know what'll fire
I
up.
am super fired up right now. This is wild. And I've known
I've got all the
about
receipts.
you. You know, I've known about you and your struggles, but I never knew it was like this bad. Here we are fixing to go through another election with the same machines, non-updated machines, with a non-existent Secretary of State, a governor who is just
now
completely...
Let's to finish my point about I'm worried about the Republicans. What party is our governor?
You mean in name only? Republican. Okay.
He's a Republican, right?
Yes.
What party is...
In name only.
Yes, but he ran as a Republican.
He ran as a Republican.
He had supported the Republican Party.
Yes.
He has refused to meet with me. Once he found out I wanted to talk about the elections, that I had documentation, they ghosted me. Now, who did our state attorney general? What party did he run under?
Chris Carr?
Chris Carr.
Okay. He ran as a Republican.
Refused
to sit down and talk to you and look at your
In fact, one of his attorneys is an open records, their jurisdiction is open records. She actively supported the county. When I issued complaints, they're supposed to moderate complaints.
Sure.
Just completely ghosted me. State Election Board, they're over writing election rules and regulations. They're over monitoring the elections to make sure they're legal.
Right, they know what it means. They write it and read it.
They refuse to let me talk. They dismissed my 2 cases that I gave them over 1,000 pages. And when I asked for the case files, all those pages were gone.
Man.
You can go right down the list of all the Republican... My own GOP party, did I know all these people? They never once publicly said, we support Mark Swanson.
My God. I'm speechless again.
And to this day, our Republican Party in Floyd County, they have come out and said, that the election office in Rome is a first-class, well-run office. They won't even talk to me about it. And here's the thing. I've alleged all this stuff in public meetings for 3 years, 4 years. If I was alleging that you were violating the law and you knew you were not violating the law, what would you do?
Well, if I knew I wasn't violating
Right.
the law, I wouldn't put up a fight. I would say, check everything. You know, I have nothing to hide.
You would at least come forward and say, Mark,
Yeah.
you're totally wrong.
You're wrong, and here's how I can show you.
Here's
you're
how
wrong.
I can prove it.
Sure.
To this day, 4 years, thousands of allegations, not one person has ever stepped forward to say, Mark, you're wrong.
Yeah.
Not one
Oh,
person.
Mark, you're crazy. Let me show you how, right?
Not one person. Because you know why? They can't prove me wrong. And I have everything in writing. It's all in writing. It's crazy.
It is crazy because really, Mark and I have just met in the last couple of weeks or so. Really, I think we've kind of been around in the same circles and all this stuff. But we know about a lot of the same things. He's certainly researched it in a lot more depth than I have.
Oh man!
But it always comes back to these same people and the same little things and all this. And so it's
the Republican Party we need to worry about more than the Democrat Party. I mean, we need to worry about the Democrat Party, but here's the problem. It's not Republicans and Democrats. It's the ruling class against us.
It's the ruling class.
uniparty.
It's the establishment.
It is the
against
establishment.
people.
They have a club. We're paying their dues for them. They've got a great gig. They can get wealthy. They can have retirement benefits for life. And they are not going to let anybody in there to come mess that up.
That's right.
So they've got to control the elections
And
because
if
that's the
so
one way
and so
we
in
can
this
kick them
office
out.
wants to keep their job, you keep your mouth shut. You ghost this person. You don't kick the bear, and you just let it go.
So
and
why?
they have the power and the authority to do
That's
that,
right.
and they do it outside of the confines of the law.
And the Constitution. They laughed when I read the Constitution.
Man.
A county commissioner laughed at me repeatedly for reading my rights directly out of the Georgia Constitution. What does that tell you?
I don't know. I mean, Mark, where does that leave us? I mean, we're literally 3 months away from the craziest freaking election of our lifetime. It went from one of the most important to now we're in gonzo territory.
So there's a lot of traction hitting the ground. The tires are starting to get grip. I believe I have discovered a path that for Floyd County may restore everything.
Okay.
And I believe if this path turns out to be what I think it is, it'll be a house cleaning.
Okay.
And I
Obviously.
believe this path, which is all in the law, can be quickly applied to counties all across our state.
Right. That's
So,
beautiful. So there's a plan. You got a plan.
I'm doing a trial run of
Okay.
a plan, and we'll see where it lands. But I'm expecting great resistance at the county level. Because again, remember the
Of
DA.
course.
The DA hasn't dropped my unconstitutional. She is basically doing this to our Georgia Supreme Court, saying, "You guys are stupid. I'm going to hold this charge over him until the cows come home. I don't care what
That's
the
heavy,
Georgia
man.
Supreme Court says because I'm the DA."
So, what's your message, man? We've got an election coming up in November.
We've got to engage.
Right.
I mean,
That's the only thing we have, right?
We've got to have. What if 500 people show up to your county commission meeting one day, or
Right.
mine?
Right.
What if 1,000? We have 100,000 people who live in Floyd County.
Yeah.
What if 10,000 of them showed up for a county commission meeting?
Right. And demanded these things.
What would 10,000 people in front of them?
Man, you're speaking my language. This is what we have to have.
But most of these meetings, I go alone.
I know. I've been to them before.
I go all by
brother.
myself.
I know. And I haven't been going to them lately. I lost one of my close friends who went to every meeting. He was by himself. You know, we've got to get people engaged in this fight.
If we
We're
don't,
being
it's
trampled.
over.
It is. It is.
I mean, it's over now. But if we don't,
all of this information you've given us, and what has changed from 2020
Nothing.
to 2022?
not a single thing.
Despite the legislation that we're supposed to be jumping up and down about in
right.
our state.
That's right.
Right? Yes. Do we have victories?
We've got to
But
get engaged.
nothing's changed.
engagement equals change. We have to understand, Roy, that our founding fathers knew this day was coming.
Yeah.
They wrote our Constitution, they wrote our Declaration of Independence in such a way that it's not the government's government, it is our government.
Right.
And our Constitution in Georgia says that it's up to us to manage the government.
100%.
That's our right, is to manage. We have the government we have, Roy, because we've let it.
Okay. Well, I say we need to plan some action, man. We need to plan some action.
We've got to get busy.
Okay.
Time's running short.
Local action has a national impact.
Yeah,
It does. It does.
This is by far probably the most explosive interview I've done yet, because, I mean, don't get me wrong, I love Dr. Frank, and I mean, he's got some great, but like to see all this very specifically right here and to know what we face in the next 3 months is, they continue to gaslight us anyway in every way, shape, or form, and
that's the plan.
We're looking over here while they're preparing over here. So,
and if we're not prepared, it's over.
Okay, all right. So, wow. All right. So, let's go ahead and we're going to cover some comments real quick for the end here. So, Lisa Adams, wonderful to have you with us this evening as always. The old overflowing toilet cover-up. 100%. Sharon Holland, thank you so much for watching. It's great to have you every week. We appreciate you. Georgia Patriot, real American heroes often don't know they are being heroic until after the fact. Ain't that the truth, man? And he also says that's well chosen for sure. Terry Bailey.
Police, yeah.
Terry Bailey says this is amazing. I agree. I'm just like mind blown. What you think you know anyway. Georgia Patriot says, what are you going to bring out in Discovery? So that's a good question.
Yeah.
So
can you imagine? I have found has been by open records.
Yeah.
Imagine if I had the power of Discovery.
I know.
Depositions.
Yes.
Get these people under oath.
Yes.
Get to look at all the crap that they've been doing behind
this
the
could
scenes.
This could be the silver lining right here.
I'm telling
really
you.
Could. Wow. Cool. Georgia Patriot says, what are these crooks hiding that they are so afraid of people finding out?
I think we know.
Yeah, that's and Kim's Coffee Talk, good to have you guys. If you don't know, Kim's Coffee Talk is on, at least she's on X, I think Facebook, Rumble. You need to go out there and you need to subscribe to Kim's Coffee Talk. She has an awesome show every morning, and it's wonderful. She's hilarious. So, Antonio Jones, another one, Gwinnett County War Room. If you're not following, you need to be following Gwinnett County War Room. Awesome. They had an awesome election integrity interview last week, and he just dropped another one today that is gonna be going wild.
I would love to come over there and talk.
Yes, yeah, we'll get you hooked up with Antonio. Awesome. He's wonderful. He said the cabal is alive and well. Yes, sir, we do know that.
Right here in Floyd County.
Yes. Georgia Patriot says maladministration.
It's worse than that, but yes,
100%.
It's at least maladministration.
Yes. Kim's Coffee Talk, they are not valid. They absolutely are not valid. Right. I mean, there's not even a question of the validity here any longer. Nope. I mean, Antonio says.
Let me drop this in just real quick.
Sure.
So, let's put in perspective what I found out in 2020. We don't have receipts for 27,000 votes in Floyd County alone. How much did Trump lose the 2020 election?
12,000 and
11,700.
Yeah. Okay, gotcha.
So we have almost 3 times the number of votes without receipts.
Right.
In Floyd County alone to have changed the outcome for the entire state for the 2020 election.
That's very true. Not even bringing up Fulton County and
not even adding all the the other 12 counties that I found.
Antonio says, you don't know if they are valid. I would believe they are not. The moment the ballot hits the machine, nobody can track it accurately unless you are a cyber person. It's 100%.
That's right. We don't even know what the machine, I'm sure the machines are fraught with all kinds of peril.
And we know they connect to the internet.
And we know they connect to the internet. In fact, Judge Amy Totenberg, a federal judge in Atlanta, wrote a 100-page report saying that the Dominion equipment were basically good for chicken roosts.
Yeah. Well, they're still running on Windows 7, right? I think that's what they're running on, something like that.
But she wouldn't go far enough to say you can't use them.
Of course not. Of course. She's trying to protect her integrity. Yeah. All right. Kim's Coffee Talk says Webster. Georgia Patriot says, we FOIA'd all 159 counties for tabulator tapes. The responses we got back from some were unbelievable. That is the truth.
I'd like to see those tapes.
Yeah, we can make that happen too. A lot of good people fighting in this fight. Georgia Patriot says there were counties saying that they were going to charge us $20,000 to $30,000 for copying fees.
I'm not going to disclose to you or anybody, because my wife's probably listening, how much I've spent on open records. So, let's just keep that to ourselves.
I think your wife and us all are very grateful for the work you're doing. So, and Zach says Zach's back in town. Welcome back, Zach. I hope you had a good trip from DC. Jeff Conley says, "What can I do to help?"
Awesome,
Mr. Conley. We're going to get you hooked up right here.
All right.
I promise. I got a team of people in this town that are ready with boots on the ground.
I love the sound of that.
One and another one individual that we may end up having to set up a lunch together.
That'd be awesome.
It'll blow your mind, man.
I would love it.
I'm telling you, we're ready.
I would love it.
Jeff says, sorry, does Mr. Swanson know Garland?
Yes. In fact, I have his cell phone number, and I have tried to meet with Garland probably half a dozen times, and for whatever reason, he won't meet with me.
He won't.
He won't.
Okay. I don't. That's unfortunate. I mean, Garland he's doing great work. You know. I don't know. Zachary says, "Run them off Windows 98. Problem solved." Yeah. Well, you're probably right.
Are they
about
that advanced?
So,
I'm not sure.
Oh no, he's talking about going back to Windows 98.
Yeah.
That would be. Yeah. Windows 98 was almost indestructible back in the day, man. I loved it, but. All right. Well, that's all the comments we have. So I'm going to give both of you guys your final word. We'll start with David. What's your final thoughts?
I appreciate getting Mark up here and to get all this information out. You know, I know a lot of this has been going on kind of in the background for the last 3+ years, and I think it's important that everybody, especially in Floyd County, you know, if everybody in Floyd County that has a Trump sign or a flag in their yard or a bumper sticker or something heard this information and knew about it, I think there'd be a lot more people showing up at these county commission meetings and election board meetings and stuff, at least asking questions. So, you know, I hope, you know, people will pay attention, get involved in any way you can. If it's nothing media and helping to spread the word and the message and get it out to, you know, the people that in your circles and stuff, anything that we do is better than nothing, and that this local action has a national impact. It really does. But it's you know, how do you eat an elephant? It's one bite at a time. So there's little steps, and we're certainly moving. And also last thing I'll put in is there's this video of Mark's arrest and several other things that have gone on with Floyd County. If you go to my Twitter or X at Greasy Boots, we've got a lot of that stuff up there. And you know, anybody has any questions or wants to see anything else, then just hit me up there, and we can try to get it out there. Yes,
and I want to add to that what he's saying, and part of this activism is understanding the machine and the machine you're up against. The fact that you cannot sit out on the sidelines, that we have to show up by force this November election. You cannot sit back and just think that it's useless to cast your ballot. We need every single person alive and breathing to go cast their ballots and fight this machine. Fight this machine with your vote. It's not about stopping voting or forgetting about it. It's about you coming out and understanding how important that you are just by going and voting in these machines and making sure that we overwhelm these algorithms, that we have the receipts next time. It's up to you, folks.
Yeah, we have to overwhelm the system this time, and it really stinks that we have to do that. You know, that's not how it should be. But we have to, I think, look past that. To if we can just get past this coming up election, then maybe we can get some better people in office.
Amen.
That we can start changing things and really correcting it in the future. But the first step is we got to get through this.
Imagine, if you will, if there's as many people that will vote for Trump as we think there is, and we overwhelm the system with a massive amount of votes, then to counter that, the Democrats are going to have to fake massive amount of votes. Right. Well, at some point, we're going to exceed the total number of registered voters.
Exactly.
And that's when the fraud comes to light.
That's 100%.
So if we will vote, then we've got a chance to all bring the fraud out in the open. But before then, go to my Facebook page,
Yes, please.
Mark Swanson. I'm in Rome, and I have a Facebook page. I have posted hundreds of election integrity posts on my Facebook, and I post all the receipts, not vote receipts, but so if I'm accusing somebody, if I'm, anything I say, I back up with evidence.
Okay.
So you can go to my Facebook page. I'm also speaking every Thursday night at Sam's Burger Deli on Highway 27 in Armurchie. It's down near the mall in Armurchie, big airplane out front. But I'm speaking every Thursday night. You can order at 6. We got a private room. Order at 6, and the meeting starts at 6:30. And I've been going into detail because, again, I've only been able to share that much
Just
of what I know.
of the iceberg.
So I'm using these opportunities to go into more complex stuff that I found, and it also allows me to engage with the crowd.
Yes, and we're gonna do another show, Mark. We're gonna continue this.
Awesome.
We're gonna do another show before November.
Awesome.
And guys, you need to go support Mark Swanson and everything that he's doing. You need to go support David at Greasy Boots on X. He's also on Telegram. And you can support me, givesendgo.com/smalltownunderground. And you can just keep supporting us by liking and sharing and spreading this information around. It is time that we use our critical thinking skills and understand what we're up against, okay? We've heard about this from years, but it cannot fall on deaf ears, folks. We've got to get engaged in this. This is not over. And boy, do we have a rough 3 months ahead of us.
And I'm telling you, we got some traction going all across the state.
I believe it. Georgians for Truth, Voter Georgia, what the work that you're doing, even like Dr. Frank, all of these people that are out there in the trenches that are really, really, really just trying to thwart this at every single level. In Georgia, you got to remember you're the epicenter of this election. Okay, so
and I think the one last thing is that everybody remember, and I know it's going around to if you can show up to the state election board meeting. I think it's August the 6th. They're trying to get hundreds, 1,000. They're trying to get a lot of people to show up down there. The last one we had, I think 3 overflow rooms or 2 overflow rooms. So let's keep.
And there's some interesting things happening at state election board.
Yes.
That's where some traction is finally hitting.
Yep, and we're going to be doing a show on that soon. It's just bless everybody out there. Lord, bless and protect all of these people as they stand up and fight and get in the trenches. So,
amen.
All right, that's it for Saturday night. Thanks for hanging out with us, you guys. We'll have another show coming Wednesday, and expect to see Mark Swanson soon. Y'all have a good evening.